Have you ever wondered if there is a way that every time you get an inquiry about your construction services that you could qualify a client? Well, on today's episode, I'm going to talk to you about a qualification scorecard. Changes the way that I do business, how I qualify clients. I'm sure it's going to help you out a lot. Enjoy.
How old are you going to be before you start to experience life like you want it? I want to tell you right now, whether you like it or not, there is a better way to do business.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Business for Builders podcast. My name's Max, I am your host. Thanks for stopping by. Look, thank you if you're watching us on YouTube. If you're watching this or listening to this on podcast, rolling down the road at the gym, working on site, look, get across because there might be some stuff on this whiteboard behind me that's going to help you build a better business. Just some housekeeping, like and subscribe, all that kind of good stuff. If you want to contact me, max at elitebusinessadvisory.com. Get across to Business for Builders VIP on Facebook. And if you answer those three questions, I'll let you in. We've got to get a community pumping there and really get talking and hopefully make our businesses and our lives much better. Love to chat with you. Look, I offer a 30-minute complimentary coaching session. We sit down, talk a bit of strategy, free of charge, no strings attached. We're coming up to the new year. Please, please, please look over your shoulder. If you're not happy with the year you just had, ask yourself the question, why? And then hopefully it's got something to do with the maybe the lack of guidance, lack of education, lack of awareness, all of the above, and really start focusing. I believe right now, today is December 2025, we've had a pretty ordinary couple of years. And I just think next year, we're certainly, I wouldn't certainly say this is an absolute, but I think the market that we play in, the residential market, is very cyclic. And so, I think things are as due for a little bit of an uptick at the very minimum. So, great. All right. Thanks again for hanging around. Today, we're going to talk about a client qualification scorecard. Now, the reason that I share this with my EBA clients is because I want to make sure that the minute we've got after the marketing and the branding and we've got really good value props and good SEO, what's going to happen is we're going to have a lot of inquiry coming through. Now, the good part about that is we feel optimistic and excited about the possibilities. The downside is that we could end up being flooded or overrun and talking to inquiries that, because we don't have maybe a sales process and or a qualification scorecard, we're having trouble discerning as it relates to who's a valid client and who is just someone who's just at the beginning, perhaps maybe doesn't have the right amount of money to do the job, has got an expectation that's really low, and yet the job that they want done is very high. And so what I want to do is just quickly run through a little bit of and give you an understanding. And it's easy for you to build a scorecard. If you've got AI, I guarantee you, as long as you're putting in the right information around what you want to achieve, and probably this episode is going to help you do that. So at the back end, rather than me flick you in a PDF or, download mine or what have you, go build your own, because it's your business. And that is the beauty about having someone in your corner like me who's coaching you in your business. Essentially, I'm probably the cheapest paid business development manager that you'll ever have if you were to work with me directly as a one-on-one coach. But what I need to understand is that what's the dynamics within your business? What's your personal skill set? It's like me and my business partner, we're fairly different, but we have a lot of similar underlying attitudes toward business, but our skill sets are slightly different. So we're kind of purpose-driven, value-led, but we really understand our roles and responsibilities, and we double down on those, and that's why it works. So you as an individual or as a leader within your business, you really don't, it's hard for you to cover all of the bases. So what you need, and I think you can run on charisma for so long, Max, I don't need to systemize that. It's all in my head and I'm really good at it. Great. What if you ever want to bring somebody in and go and have a holiday for 3 months because you've done so well at business? Now what? You're the main man, and you can't do that. You've got no time freedom. So really what this focuses on is, how do we assess an inquiry when one comes in? And so what we've got on the board here, take a screenshot of that. Bang, right, move on. What is the client inquiry scorecard? Okay, it's just a system. It's a qualification system. So if I ask you, tell me what your qualification system is. most people will probably just say, I've never even thought about it. Why would you need one? Like for me, what I've got to do when part of my on-site visit, once I've qualified them and I think it's worth going and chatting with them about their project, what I do is when I get on site, I'm like, do I like the job? Do I like the human? And are they willing to chat with me about dollars and cents and finances? And so that to me is a qualifying scorecard, part of, because essentially this is going to be, if I'm going to be your builder, there's a marriage for a short amount of time. And so we've got to have open, honest communication. If someone is just being if they're just kind of being coy and funny and lowballing it, I'll know that straight away. And that starts to tell me that maybe these aren't the people that I should be working for. So it's a red flag. That's what a qualification system does, right? It converts that subject gut feel. I might have a gut feel initially on the phone. Yep, sounds pretty good. Go out there. All of a sudden, I've got some more tangible, categoric measurements that I'm using, and all of a sudden, I get more of a good understanding as to why I may not work with that person, or confirmation that I could end up working with them if all goes to plan. So, to give you an idea, it typically covers 4 areas: project type, timeline, budget, and then of course the client behavior and the decision-making profile. I have clients, and it's not all, and I think I need to just pause for a second because I was about to do a broad brush assessment of client bases, but it really doesn't necessarily matter. But the people that I text message clients as a follow-up and say, hey, did you receive the quote? Did you, and I know they do because my system will tell me that. So that's a little measurement. Oh no, Max, and I've had this. I send it. I send the document. My system will tell me if the email's been opened and if the document's been opened or it's been viewed. And I purposely ask them, did you receive the information and what did you think? Did you have any questions? Oh no, Max, haven't got that. Like, who opened it? It's just, you're telling me lies there. And that's an instant dismissal. We're done. Like, I am shutting down your file. You don't get in. And actually, just so you know, folks, in the event that happens, in my JobTread, on my Kanban system, the way I move leads from left to right in my system, I've got a client no-go, disqualified or unqualified. And if I click on that and I roll down, there's all the clients in there and there's notes around why I've disqualified him in that regard. So remember, we've only got 52 weeks a year and we want to do bigger numbers. We want to be more profitable. We want happier clients. We want to build a successful business. We want to certainly create more profit and eventually have a better lifestyle perhaps than what we've got today. And so if we don't qualify clients using a scorecard, we're going to be up to our neck in it. Right. So as I alluded to, each qualification category, let's say you would allocate a score of 1 to 5. Okay. So if there's 4 categories, there's a total of 20 points. Super basic. Now, just so you know, you could fill out this scorecard pretty quickly before you actually go out and see these humans. Or if the lead comes in digitally, you could be able to fill out the scorecard by just reading the information, right? And of course, if they're not even in your area, well, that's an instant termination as well. That's a no-go. Put them in that column. So as we talked about, we want to eliminate the time wasters. That's the next thing we want to do to make sure that we know we're dealing with the right type. We want to maximize. It's not a perfect science, right? But we want to maximize wherever we do divert or we do deploy our attention and our resource. We want to give ourselves the best chance of converting that to a deal. Okay. So if you've got that 1 to 5 on each of those 4 levels, you might have a total score that'll indicate the priority level. Okay. High, medium, low. High scores you want to call immediately. Mid scores, schedule a discovery call. Low scores, decline politely and redirect. So there you go. Like that's essentially, what we're doing. That's how we avoid the time wasters. Right, point number 3. We want to provide some structure. So back at the start, I'm saying, do you have a sales process? Do you have a qualification scorecard? In your mind, even if you don't have any system, maybe you've got something in your mind where you wash, rinse, and repeat. Every time you go out onto site, you have a very typical piece of verbiage that you use. So I walk in, a little bit of small talk, nice house, nice place, great area you live in, cool house, love your backyard, etc., break the ice, and then you might go into, like normally where I would go fairly quickly is, right, tell me your story. What do you love? What do you don't love? And of course, I'm in Canada, and there is a little bit of an advantage because I'm a bit of a larrikin and I love to have a bit of a joke around, not too much, but certainly that puts people at ease, and there's more of an open line of communication in the first meeting even, right? So, so tell me your story. Tell me what you love, tell me what you don't love, and let's see if we can't. And then I might just pause and say, I tell you what I'm going to focus on in this meeting is a couple of things. I want to see if this project is practical. In other words, is it going to be functional? Is it going to look good, the end product in my mind's eye? And we got to figure out between you and I whether or not it's going to make financial sense for you. So I don't ask them a budget. Like, I have a budget in my builds, folks, because that's what I live and die off the back of. If we are at budget or under budget, we're making money. If we're over budget, bad day. I'm a builder. I built the estimate. Clients, they have a designated amount of funds, they have an expectation, but if you ask them what their budget is, what you're saying is, because a budget is a builder term. If you said to me, hey Max, what's your budget for your second story addition over there? I'll be able to tell you categorically, because it's on my system and I'm a builder and that's what I do. Homeowners, what they're actually, when you ask them, you give them credentials that which they don't have, they don't deserve, they don't understand. And so I hear it all the time. And I guess I'm just a disruptor because most guys probably use it all the time, and you might be going, screw you, Max, you're full of shit. It's like, okay, fine. But at the end of the day, you need to get the context. And what it does is it changes the way you communicate. That's why I do it. Not because I want to be wrong or right? It's because I want to make sure that I'm communicating at the level of the homeowner, the client. So I say, what's your expectation? What's your financial capacity look like? I think it's going to cost 100 grand. Well, Max, we think it's going to cost 70. And I'm like, great, we're only 30 grand apart. Okay. And so that is going to be some hard work. If I like the client, like the job, and we've talked about money, I would probably try and move that along, and sort of outline the reasons why. Because again, I've got a budget, let's say a build budget or a build cost of 100, they've got a build cost of 70. Who's wrong and who's right? See, I base mine on facts and figures, and ironically, after that first meeting, a week later, I presented them with a quote, $98,000. So, okay, so not only have I got a professional opinion, but then I circled back, gave you a quote for 98 grand. Now what? I'm ready to go to contract. Are you ready to cough up? See, this is the swagger that you get after being in the industry for a couple of decades. And this is the challenge that I have when I've got these youngsters, 25, got my builder's license, want to go and dominate. I'm not saying you can't, but you just can't absorb the kind of life experience that one has when they're 10 or 20 years your senior, if you're a 25-year-old, right? And look, the fact that if you're a 25-ish-year-old in there and you're sitting here watching this podcast, watching this YouTube video, or you're listening to the podcast, mate, I'm so happy for you because I'm telling you in the next 10 years, you will achieve more in the next 10 years as a 25 to 35-year-old than what I did in 25 to 35 because the education was not available like this is. Got it? So there's an onus on you now to take advantage of all of this information, all this education, all this awareness, right? Unfortunately, you're not accountable to me because we ain't doing business as a builder and a business coach. So you need to strongly consider that as well. See how it ties together, guys. I don't stand here. For years and years and years, we did podcast, and it was, I don't know what episode it was, maybe 150, and I started or had got emails from 50 or more builders all around the world going, Max, would you coach me? Would you coach me? And it was right at the back end of COVID, in the back end of COVID. And I would resist that because I'm like, I'm busy building a franchise network. That thing's changed now. So now I'm all in on business coaching. So the market's about to change. You need to make sure that you understand a lot about what is going on. The next episode, I'm going to talk about, what I'd call, I got it from Alex Hormozy, 5 M's, right? And you need to make sure all of those boxes are ticked, because if next year is going to be a boom-ish year, an introduction to a boom perhaps, and you're not ready, you're going to be one of these builders that spike and fall off the edge at the end of this 3 to 5 year boom time, okay? So just be aware that you need to change. If you want your finances to change and you want your business to grow, that means you've got to become a better leader. Part of being a better leader is you've got to be a better human person. You've got to be a better finance person. You've got to be a better communicator. You've got to be more diligent, perhaps. You've got to manage your time better. We digress. So, number 3, we're talking about structure, right? That was a long way around, wasn't it, folks? All right, number 4, reduces backlog and overwhelm. So this is the other part. It's like, all right, so we've got all these leads coming in, and for 1 minute you're like, oh, I'm freaking pumped because I've got opportunity, okay? But opportunity and a dollar will get you a cup of coffee. It's not worth anything until you convert. So now how do you take that raw product, a phone call, a human, a family, like a homeowner that says, hey, I want to improve my living standards and I want to add a bedroom, or I want to go up a story, or I want a new bathroom or new ensuite, whatever the case is. Like now we've got to go, okay, so how do I take them by the hand and lead them from the initial contact to contract, and then what's my delivery system from contract through to completion, right? So if we have a system, we will reduce our overwhelm and our backlog. If we don't have a system, like a scorecard to help us identify the players versus the pretenders, then we will automatically inherit a backlog. We will create a backlog, and we will suffer from overwhelm because all of a sudden we don't know whether we're punch, board, or drilled, and we don't know where we should go first. And whenever there is a lack of clarity, immediately there is confusion. Facts. Think about it. I've talked about this before with buying motor vehicles. Whenever I was confused about what's included and, you know, all of the bits and pieces around finance and leasing, etc., when I was confused, and it was just a cluster. It's like, I don't know whether I'm punch, board, or drilled. I've got pros and cons, and I'm trying to wade through all that information. So for you, as you have leads come down that pipeline, you've got to have a very clear system on how you are going to sort those leads coming in. Got it? If you have that system, if you have a scorecard, if you have some measuring device and you go, right, he's worth a call, right, I'll call him straight away actually, right, that's a no-go, you know, all these sorts of things. And I'll tell you this, even after you've done that initial assessment, once you get on the phone, all of a sudden you might have to downgrade them. Understood? Or in some cases you call them and you go, actually, this has got more traction than potentially, or more opportunity than what I thought, maybe I upgrade them. So when you go out there, if you go out, then you have a better understanding of the potential of this opportunity. And so basically to go from contact to contract, what you've got to do is go through a bunch of gates all the way to there. Now you've got to set those gates up. What are the milestones? No different to our big job we've got at the moment or any other small jobs we're doing. We've got milestones. We're like goals, right? Okay, so the next one is this, drywall delivered and frame inspection or whatever it is, frame stage. So, you know, it's like, I've got to have the gates to go from here to here. So if you can't sit down and in your mind go, okay, this is the first thing that happens. I get the phone call. Right. Go through we'll get the qualification scorecard out. Right. They look pretty good. Right. Next thing I'm going to do is make a call because they're in that 17 to 20 range. It's like, great, give them a call, book a meeting. Right. What's the first thing I'm going to do when I go out there? Right. We want to figure out whether this is like a little discovery process now. We want to go out there and kick tires and just meet the clients and spend half an hour figuring out whether or not we're going to take this on further, okay? Are they good people? Do I like the job? They want to talk about money. Those 3 things, right? Come out the back of that and go, they ticked all those boxes. See? So what you do is it's easy to, then you might have 5 other leads on the go and you'll just go, well, this one's a standout. And these, well, 2 of them, they're kind of like, they can wait. I've had one guy at a home show say, I want to do this in the spring of 2027. Like that was literally 18 months down the track. Like he just went into the suspense column. Put him on a nurture campaign perhaps. You know, like whatever the case is, make sure he doesn't forget about us. But I bet you he'll be at the next home show because that's where we met him, right? I've had other clients come in, they haven't done a thing with me or anybody else, but they keep coming back and they keep getting their kids these inflatable hammers. Yay. You know, so we got to make sure that the end goal is very clear and that we know who our players are. That's what it comes down to. Right, number 5. Right? It influences our metrics. Now, some of the metrics that we talk about is lead to job. So that would be a customer acquisition, that would be a conversion rate. And then the other conversion rate we look at is, well, how many estimates or quotes did we present and how many of those converted to jobs, right? When we're talking about marketing, you might say, well, how does that affect my customer acquisition cost? So it's like when you're spending $1,000 a month on Google or whatever you're spending, you've got to be making sure that your conversion is justifying the expense, right? So that's your customer acquisition cost. We're still looking at our return on advertising spend. We're saying, all right, with everything that we're doing, digitally, practically, physically, socially, whatever we're doing, we've got to make sure that that spend is returning us an acceptable, creating an acceptable return, as far as revenue and sales goes. What else do we follow? CPL, cost per lead. So for every lead that comes in and our marketing spend, is that right? Now, this is the problem is we talk about cost per lead. So you might have a cost per lead that's great, but then you might have a customer acquisition cost, which is shit. Because it means you're getting leads coming in the door, but somewhere along the line, we're not converting enough jobs. Why is that? Are we attracting the wrong type of client in our marketing? Is my pricing model pretty ordinary? Am I too heavy? I've had plumbers, I kid you not. I've had plumbers quotes that have differed by 100%. So here's one plumber's quote and the other guy come in and he's double. And that is a mystery. That is phenomenal. And I sit down with this guy who's double the price and I white out all of the other guys' quotes and I'm like, mate, your quote's this quote, whose name shall go unmentioned, is half of yours. You're the guy. Explain to me the difference between yours and theirs, because there's a significant amount of money that's different. The quote prices are ridiculously different. Help me out. And in that meeting, he could not. So, overall sales velocity is another thing. So when you get fluent at qualifying, it means you're dealing with the right type of human or project or opportunity. And if you have got your systemized approach to moving from contact to contract, all of a sudden you're putting contracts together. Now be careful, because if you put too many together at once, you're going to overwhelm your delivery. So everything we're talking about here about qualification scorecards or inquiry scorecards, you go, hey, what's my delivery scorecard look like? Well, there's another Pandora's box. Everything that we do overlaps and influences something else, which is why the next episode we're going to talk about the 5 M's within your business that really are much like that. We're going to be talking about manpower. So it's like the delivery. We've got all of this. We've got leads in, we've got conversions, we've got contracts, we've got deposits, and then we haven't got enough manpower. What you've just done potentially is shot yourself in the foot, because your reputation is going to take a hit, because all of a sudden clients go, why is this guy not getting on my job? That sort of thing. Right. Chat about a couple of big takeaways. The client qualification scorecard will help GCs and builders move from a reactive state to a proactive state. In other words, I'm getting in front, right? I'm not getting over my skis, but I'm definitely staying on the front foot and I've got control of my business. That's a good thing. We move from guessing, right, to measuring. What you don't measure, you can't manage. What you don't measure, you can't improve. And the third thing there is we go from chasing to choosing, right? So, and that's important, because when you're chasing, you've got commission breath. I freaking hate it. It drives me nuts. Like, I love walking away from a deal. Take it off me. I dare you, because I don't give a rip. Now, that's a little bit of arrogance. I understand where you're coming from. You're not entirely incorrect. But what I'm getting at is that I will not be subservient to someone who thinks that they hold the upper hand irresponsibly and recklessly because they don't know any better. I will not be jewed down because they have an opinion. And the only reason that I don't do that is because I stand my ground on principle and metrics. It's like I say to Jed, if we're going to go broke, mate, let's just go and take the last little bit of money we got, go and buy a pontoon boat and sit out in the middle of the lake and drink beer. So if that seems stupid, and I would agree, then what we've got to do is we've got to change the way we do business. And one of the M's we're going to talk about in the next episode is going to be model. Like, what is your pricing model? What is your business model look like, and things like that. So guys, just to, the overview is, get a qualification scorecard, make sure it's detailed, that it's usable, and that it does make sense. And if you do that, you'll find yourself working with more players instead and avoiding a lot of the pretenders. Email me, max@elitebusinessadvisory.com. Get across to elitebusinessadvisory.com. If you want a complimentary coaching session, 30 minutes of my time, we'll talk about some strategy. Do that. You'd be foolish not to. I'm probably going to start blocking out my calendar for Christmas. So you might have to wait to the new year, but see how you go. Get across there. That's book a consultation. Get across to Business for Builders VIP or Business for Builders on Facebook. Either way, Business for Builders, I think that's what it's called, Dom, isn't it? Look, I think like and subscribe and maybe leave us a review. Help us get the word out, guys, because there's good karma, because a rising tide lifts all ships. Kids aren't getting into the trades today. Why? Because you and me haven't displayed enough wealth and success for them to get excited about it, right? So we've got to make sure the next generation is coming through and they understand what to do and how to do it the best. Maybe use some of our examples and some of our bad mistakes to improve their system. That's what I'm here doing, guys and gals. So I hope you're enjoying it. Go build a kick-ass business. See you on the next episode. Cheers.